Thank you for watching my showcase song for KeepForest's latest VST, Appex, a modern trailer guitar instrument. I'm AFL-NESCI, an Australian mix engineer and composer, and thank you to the KeepForest team for sending this over to me. I'm going to be taking a look at the requirements for setup, an overview of the UI, an in-depth features breakdown of each section within Appex, how Appex and organic guitar can work together in your productions, how you can use Appex for DI and reamping, and then some thoughts on how to best approach the VST for musicians with guitar experience and then non-guitarists as well. Finally, I'm going to be talking just about some concluding thoughts on the software. Throughout this video, I'm going to be showing you a lot of things of what you can do, and I don't want you to take this as what you should be doing. Utilize your creativity to push such a powerful tool to your limits. So some things to note. Firstly, you can install Appex through native access, and then you'll also need the Contact 8 player. If we just jump into it straight away, when we look at Appex, you immediately get loaded up with this beautiful UI. Very slick, very minimal opening. I really like it. You'll notice at the bottom here, you get 4 tabs: main, designer, chains, and settings. Here you can also see riff mode, cabinets, and chains. There's a lot going on here, and I'm going to go through every section in more depth. But as you toggle through, you'll see that it's meticulously crafted. They've put a lot of love and a lot of thought into this. It's clear that real guitarists were consulted. As a guitarist myself, especially in the settings page, there are lots of things here that I'm really liking to see, especially some of these more common things: string mute volume, fret volume, velocity sensitivity, bend ranges. That's the kind of stuff you want to be seeing when you're trying to emulate an instrument with as many as articulations as guitar. When you open up at the top in the global menu, you'll see that you have a wide range of genres here. We're going to look at this in more depth in a minute, but as you can see, the overview UI, very nice. A nice slick purple with the Appex logo straight in the middle here. Okay, let's take a look now at some of the in-depth features of Appex. We're going to go through each page kind of one by one, do a deep dive, do a crash course, just get you situated with what's going on. So when you first open this for the first time, you're not wondering, what do I do? What do I start with? Where do I go? So this is the main page. You load up into the main page, and this is what you've got. On the right side, you've got different riffs: main riff, intro riff, build up, whatever. On the left side, you've got your key switches, so all your articulation and what note in the MIDI will trigger that. You've got a riff mode: engage, not engage. You've got cabs and chains, a button that allows you to randomize. We'll come back to that. And then on the top here, you've got your category select. So these are all your different genres: metal, rock, blues, and all their subcategories: modern, classic, and then pulses, passive riffs, whatever. I'm going to pick metal 3. I've liked that tone as I was writing that track for it. When you load it up, it'll have whatever the scenes/riffs that they've written for that particular sound. If you click the magnifying glass on the right side of any riff, you'll have access to all the riffs of any genre that you can load in for that specific sound. You're not limited for riff to genre. You can have, you might have this amazing metal riff in here that you think is awesome, but you want it on the cinematic clean guitar tone. You can absolutely do that. Just make mental note of which riff you like and bring it in for the tone you like. When you're looking at the keyboard down here, you've got the blue section, which is kind of your playables. You've got your pink, which is your riffs. And then over here, you've got mainly taking note of the key switches here. So the key switching here, but my recommendation is to just take note of what they actually are and program them in. There's a whole range of them here, and it's just too complicated to actually play them and play your riff if you're free playing. So when you're not in riff mode, you'll just play anything. You'll play anything and it's free play. When you are in riff mode, if you play the blue notes, you'll see it'll play. It'll play for whatever note you've selected. More importantly though, if you play on the pink notes on the right side, you'll actually get to hear what they intended. So you can hear amazing riffs. They've certainly wasted no time and just already given us this amazing bank of different scenes, whether it's intro riff, a main theme. And also what I just did there whilst I was playing is I was also clicking the randomizer button for the cabinets and the chains. And you can see after a few clicks, it drastically changed the tone. We went from this kind of high gain, metal, dystopian land as the preset, and now we're in a much more cleaner state. One of them was like a more fuzzy one. The cabinets, you went from kind of that just like very metal sound. I think one of them went to a bit more of a low gainy one, and then I changed it again. So if you're opening this and you're trying to find inspiration and you're trying to be like, I want to start a track, I don't know what sound it is, I don't really know that much about guitar tone, you can start to utilize this as being like, okay, this is what happens when I use a low gain riff versus a high gain riff. You'll hear it in your productions. You'll hear what happens when you use certain tones and certain riffs in certain scenarios. You'll feel the energy, rise and fall. And I think something like this is a really awesome learning tool for people who don't know guitar super well to get acquainted with those kind of concepts. And for the people that do know guitar super well, we'll talk about it in more depth later, but there's a lot of opportunity here to combine what you can do as a guitarist with what maybe something a non-organic sound can do to create really these amazing moments in your mixes and productions. So after the main page, we kind of look at the designer, and this is where all of those riffs that they have are formed. So if I just play any of the riffs. So you can see like the riffs going through there. I'll kind of talk this through bottom to top. So if you had any chordal movements in here, you can select which scale they're a part of. You can select the key of that scale. You can toggle that on or off. On the right side, you can see the arpeggios button. If you click edit up, not edit up, you'll have like kind of that ARP section open up. You can also randomize the ARP too. So that might not be engaged. That might be engaged on the riff depending on the preset that you've selected. And then you've got all these settings. So you've got like your panning settings, and the kind of designer system works on a grid, kind of rectangular grid system. So if I go minus, you can see I've taken away a few versus adding a couple. So if you're designing riffs in here, what's really cool is you can kind of just work to it as a grid system so you don't get totally lost. They call it steps, so how many steps you want to have in your riff. So you might only have one step, you might have all the way to 16, which is the max that it goes to, and it's similar. So you've got your filtering, you can start to do like full-on filtering, and it kind of works on that draw-in system, which is cool. Same with pitch, all the pre-written pitch articulation settings, and then same with your chains. You can toggle between like chain A, chain B, and then a joint of the two of them. It's the same with the release. You can edit the release settings in here. If I go just back to the main thing, what's also cool is you've got kind of all these different effects as well. You can even have slide length and slide curve as a little setting. There's a little gear icon there. You can see that there's a lot of customization. There's really nothing that, if you can't think of it, that you can't do in here, which is really amazing. So if I play that riff again, So, cool riff. I like it. Let's just say I'm happy with it. I'm done. What you can do is you can click that Get MIDI, and you can just straight up, I've got the file, drags into my session, perfectly fine. So that's the riff designer. There's a lot going on here. You can smooth things out. You can edit things. There's just straight up randomizers as well. You can randomize the entire riff like immediately into something super, super basic really quickly. Next, let's go to the chains. The chains is where you've got, amps, certain pedals, limiter, preamps, whatever. You got an A chain, then you've got a B chain, and then you kind of got a joint as well. The thing is with this is that there is just genuinely so much. So if you were to take one of them out and you wanted to add stuff in, you've got this full selection of effects. There are some things with the name you can kind of guess what they're based off. Other things you're just like, what are they? Just play around. Like, I think that's the best advice I can give for this section. You can randomize the entire thing. So if I play, and as you kind of see that A, B, in the chain settings, you can start to like mess around with that. So you can assign a bunch to A, bunch to B. And then within each little kind of pedal or little amp, you've got its own settings, which is amazing. They've given us so much. And then there might be like a slot preset or something like that could, be the sound that you're looking for as well. So there's also kind of that master button too, which is really cool. And just everything. The chain setting's great. I think the sound design in here is awesome. If you're looking for DI, you can do that too, and we'll look at that in a little bit. The final page in here is kind of the settings page, and this is where you can get really granular. If you don't know anything about guitar, go ahead and play around with here, but at the same time, it's already in a really good spot. I have changed a few things when I wrote the showcase track. Things like string range you can play around with, pitch range, pitch frequency, the sound range, your strokes up and down. Same with your doubling width if you don't want it doubled. Different chords. You could, power, you might want fifth, you might want 3 notes instead of 2 notes. You might want to be playing in like, A Dorian or something like that. It's the same with like editing your high pass filters, your low pass filters. Same with your global tuning. The settings page is really just, I want to get deeper with my sound. I want to change X, Y, Z. This is where you can change that. They've made no limitations. It's pretty much, if you can imagine it, you can do it. So that is the settings page, but obviously you can do a lot. If you never go past this page, you can do a lot. But if you want to get the most out of this, really explore the designer, really explore the chains. You can do a lot of amazing stuff. Okay, let's talk about how you can get some DI from Appex. There's a number of reasons you might want to do this. Maybe you've got a specific amp chain or effects chain or some kind of weird sound design processing and you just want the DI. Maybe you don't have access to guitar, or maybe for whatever reason your guitar recordings just aren't as clean as you want to get them to, and you're using Appex and you want to use the DI from here. You can do it. So let's just kind of like take a look at how we'd go about that, and then also just combining it with a non-KeepForest amplifier. So I've got my DAW here. This is just Ableton. I produce And right in Ableton, I mix and master in Logic. Usually when I get clients send me mix and masters, I just go into Logic. But when I'm doing productions and the showcase track, I did this all in Ableton. So I've just pulled up any old random riff, one of the riffs from KeepForest. I've just written in here. So here it is. So that's cool. Let's just say for whatever reason, you really like that. That's what you're rolling with. That's the note choice that you're rolling with, but you don't want the sound. We can disable the chains and we can disable everything. And what you're kind of left with is this. So kind of like as DI as you would imagine it to be, maybe with a little bit extra. But I'm just loading up just any old instance of a Neural DSP plugin. This is just Gojira. This is just a random one. You can do this with anything that you're after. I mean, anything that you have. I tend to use Neural as mine. You can use whatever you want. You might not even want to use an amp. You could be using some weird shaper box thing. You could be doing whatever. But if you play that now with the chain, so that's pretty much like a really quick example of, yes, you can get DI out of Appex. And if you wanted to use other amps, and if you wanted to use other processing, that you absolutely can do that. And Appex does have the functionality to do that. They don't limit you to using the sounds within Appex. You're able to do your own sound design, your own processing, your own EQing. You could potentially have Appex as the DI. You could do some EQing with Pro Q4, and then you could do an amplifier, something along those lines. It's really, really just kind of like endless possibilities. So the DI from Appex is quite clean, and you can absolutely get it out of that. Let's talk about Appex and organic guitar together. Now, some people like to talk about like what's better, VST, the real thing. It's the same conversation with plugins versus analog gear, except this is much less contentious. The thing with Appex is that it's going to enable you to do a lot of things if you're not a guitarist. And if you are a guitarist, what you can do is you can layer something like Appex into your productions, into your mixes, and make it sound really massive. Give it a different character, give it a different sound profile. So if I jump into my DAW here, what I've got is I have an instance of Appex. But I also just have this very, very, very quick kind of 4-bar thing. So I'll play it in full. There's very minimal processing on all this. I have a slight EQ and slight soothe somewhere. And also Orion on the drum bus, and that's about it. But I'll just play this together. So just made that super quickly. I'll take the drums out first. That was Superior Drummer. I've just got a bass, and then I've got 2 instances of real guitar, and then I've got an instance of Appex. So if I just play these together. I'll take the bass out now. Now I'll take out the real guitar, and we'll hear Appex. Now I'll just play the real guitar. So very, very different sound profile. I haven't really sculpted anything. I've just kind of like played a random tone that I have through one of I'm just playing with my Aristides through just a random neural amp. No sculpting, no nothing. So if I just play them all three of them together again. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this on loop. I'm going to start to just kind of play around. I'm going to pull things back, pull things in, so you can really hear what's actually happening. And I'm going to take out some instruments, put things back in, and you can kind of hear what happens when I've got Appex, as well as the real guitar, as well as the bass, as well as the drums all happening. So. So that kind of, in a very quick nutshell, kind of shows you what's actually going on here. You've obviously got bass as your real low end information, the drums are your percussion, but the combination of two quite distinctive and different sound profiles allow for this kind of unison sound. In my mind, you don't want your guitars, especially with a riff like this, you don't want 7 guitar layers to sound like 7 guitar layers. Same here. You don't want 3 guitar layers to sound like 3 guitar layers. You want them to sound like one monstrous sound. And in the context of a mix, you might have vocals, you might have choirs, you might have synths. You could have a lot more going on, like full call and response, everything. You want something like guitar, whether it's organic, whether it's a VST. You want them all to sound like they're one unified push. Pushing that tone, pushing that emotion, pushing that drive. Something like this is kind of like a real quick breakdown riff. And when you're listening to it, you want to be like, oh, I just hear a wall of sound. You wouldn't want to hear, oh, I can hear guitar 1, I can hear guitar 2, I can hear guitar 3. So just my recommendation would be to experiment if you're a guitarist, or if you're getting into guitar and you're umming and ahhing about getting this, whether you think it's of value. Combining the two together can allow for some really amazing full sounding moments in your tracks and moments in your productions. So I think it really shouldn't be a conversation about what's better or what's worse. It's really a conversation about how can I get the most out of everything that I'm capable of, and everything that I have access to. So for someone like me, I very much plan to have riffs that I've written on guitar to be transposed into Appex for further sound design, for further processing, so I can have a really full, genuine wall of sound. Let's talk about some of the practical applications for Appex. If you're a guitarist, Appex can be a powerful extension of creativity. You already have the advantage of knowing what certain articulations sound like and their purpose. Use this to your benefit by leveraging Appex's automation and programming capacities to create movements and dynamics that may be difficult or even impossible to achieve organically. Whether it's achieving the perfect pick scrape, extending a sustain, or some complex finger tapping pattern, Appex allows you to push your ideas further, and it's also a fantastic tool for layering and blending live performances, as we talked about before. It ultimately helps you achieve that polished hybrid sound. Now, for non-guitarists, Appex is an exciting opportunity to explore the world of guitar articulations and techniques. Don't be intimidated by the terminology. This is your chance to experiment and familiarize yourself with the unique kind of sonic textures and expression that guitar, brings to the life of music. Try out different articulations like slides and hammer-ons and palm muting. Add authenticity to your character, to your tracks. Apex's interface is accessible even if you've never played guitar ever, and it also serves as a creative gateway to crafting guitar parts that fit seamlessly into your compositions. And now, for everyone, regardless of your musical backgrounds, Appex provides an extensive library of pre-made riffs, effects chains, and genre-focused sound spheres. These creative tools make it simple to discover inspiring song starters that you can build upon. Whether you're aiming for gritty metal tones, delicate acoustic vibes, or experimental soundscapes, the intuitive design lets you customize and elevate your productions. Appex is more than just a guitar, instrument, or plugin. It's a versatile piece of equipment that allows you to unlock new possibilities. Whether you're a seasoned guitarist, a complete beginner, or someone who's never played anything, it allows you to explore and enjoy the creative process like you haven't had before. Appex is something that's meticulously crafted. It allows you to see the KeepForest's detail and care that the team has poured into this product. You can see that their passion, and you can see if you ever go explore their other offerings, it's something that stands alongside their other high-grade instruments. Finally, it's a versatile tool capable of producing both realistic and creative stylized tones, maybe for those who aren't necessarily writing music, but who are doing sound design. Take inspiration from some of your favorite guitar moments in songs and use them as reference points. Work backwards, deconstructing the sounds and articulations used. You can begin to understand and recognize how to create similar vibes using Appex. The plugin's range of articulations, presets, and song starters make it a great resource for professionals alike, and I encourage you to start exploring these. Whilst they're a fantastic tool on their own, the true potential lies in the customization. Modify, expand, and develop them to suit your project needs. This approach not only makes the learning process more intuitive and enjoyable, but helps you unlock the full creative possibilities of Appex. Appex has the depth and flexibility to deliver. It's a tool that rewards experimentation and creativity, making it a worthy addition to any producer's arsenal. So I hope you've enjoyed my playthrough, my showcase, and all the details that I've dived in to Appex. It's a phenomenal piece of equipment. I highly recommend it, and thank you again to the KeepForest team for sending it over to me to do a deep dive look at it.